Welcome to another edition of PENSDOWN. On this program, we make journalists the newsmakers rather than the storytellers. We get them to tell us all that they go through in respect of their journalism journey. There are a number of things that they grapple with in the line of duty, but they never get to talk about it because one principle of journalism is that a journalist is an observer, not a participant. This is why PENSDOWN is here. We have dedicated this platform to telling the behind the scenes issues. We turn the CCTV camera onto ourselves and then let you know what we go through. Today, I've been joined by a broadcast journalist who, for the past 12 years, has made the art of storytelling a lifestyle rather than a job. She is the head of news and current affairs at Atinka Media Village, comprising Atinka FM, Atinka TV, and atinkaonline.com. As an editorial team leader, she plays an intrinsic part in determining content for news, besides driving her team for top quality reportage and ethical discipline. One of her interests has been to champion women and children's rights through her works. She has written theses and done publications on these areas, which have sparked public discourse in both traditional and new media. Through her reports, several defiled girls have received justice, with some being put back to school on sponsorship. Her award-winning documentaries have generated national discourse and yielded positive results over the years. Her latest documentary, titled Missing Children, which premiered in May 2021, has helped reunite over 100 missing children with their families. At the 2022 Ghana Young Achievers Awards, she received the topmost prize, Young Achiever and Activist of the Year, for her Missing Children documentary. Her 2015 documentary, Defiled and Traumatized, received special recognition from Plan International Ghana for excellent reporting on girls' issues. After 6 years of legal battle, the girl who was featured in the documentary, a defilement victim, finally got justice in August 2021. Another documentary by her on the aged and COVID-19 led to proper targeting and care for older persons at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in Ghana. Hot Oil, a documentary by her that highlighted the plight of a 9-year-old boy who had suffered severe burns, afforded the victim the opportunity to undergo a complete surgery. She has facilitated and moderated several high-level discussions. Key among them are the U.S. Embassy Ghana's 2021 Shifting the Blame series, the use of Ghanaian language in effective reportage of gender-based violence, and the 2019 National Dialogue on Sexual Violence and Assault Against Boys and Girls by Plan International Ghana and its implementing partners. In 2021, the U.S. Embassy Ghana selected her together with 14 others as champions of Ghana to speak on gender-based violence during the observance of the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. She holds a master's degree in development communication from the Ghana Institute of Journalism, having finished top of her class as the best graduating student with distinction. She is a Bloomberg Media Initiative Africa Fellow and holds a bachelor's degree in journalism. In 2019, she was voted Best Female Journalist of the Year by the Ghana Journalists Association. She draws inspiration from one of Nelson Mandela's quotes: "We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in your hands to make a difference." Joining me today is Regina Asamoah. You are welcome.
Thank you very much, Nana
Wow.
JC.
First of all, your works are littered with documentaries. It is almost giving you a different kind of outlook as a journalist, like a documentary filmmaker, where you love to highlight issues with more in-depth analysis and coverage. Now, I am interested in, first of all, defiled and traumatized. Some 5 or 6 years that it took before justice was served. Tell us how you came by the story in the first place and some of the things you went through trying to follow it up.
Thank you very much for having me on PENSDOWN. I get to tell my story today, and it's a great opportunity. And to our question, defiled and traumatized. That is one of my biggest documentaries for me. I think I spent a long time on it because it has to go through the courts, and you know how at a point victims will withdraw, you would have to encourage them to go. So this particular story, I had the story from Kolebu Child Protection Unit.
Okay.
Kolebu Child Protection Unit.
Okay.
And so it's about a very young girl, very, very young. She was age 10. And then she was defiled twice by her schoolmate's father. Her schoolmate father, the girl at age 10 was in class 1 because her family had then brought her from the village to attend school here in Accra. And so at age 10, she was in class 1, and you would know that as of education in urban centers, they are different from rural areas. So she was in class 1 at age 10. And then on her way to school, twice a man defiled her. And then the man never knew the girl actually knew him as Jessica Papa, as in the man's daughter is in the same school where the girl also attends. And so when it happened, the man thought the girl will not be able to identify him. So it happened twice, and out of fear, victims of abuse would keep quiet. And in this case, a child, out of fear, I'll kill you if you should tell someone and all that. The girl kept quiet until she got paralyzed. One morning, she woke up to paste, and then she got paralyzed. So upon interrogation, before she told the family that it's a man, when she was going to school, the man did that to her. So when they rushed the girl to Kolebu, it was a serious one. It was a very serious case. So one of their child protection specialists, she's Harriet Clufield, she gave me the call and told me that previously I had done other stories where I've helped them to get justice for other victims, because the child protection unit at Kolebu, it's one unit that is very vibrant, and they always make sure that when cases such as abuse come to them, although it's reported at the police, they want to try their best to help their parents or the victim's parents, because when they come, they are shattered, and they provide counseling and other psychological sessions for the family and the victim. So this particular case, they were worried because the family, they are very vulnerable. They don't really have the means to pay for all the bills at the hospital. And they will still have to be in court. So they called me if I could assist. So that was when I got to know about the story. I paid a visit to the victim on the hospital bed, and then she told me her side of the story. I tried to contact the police officer investigating the case, the parents, all parties involved. I tried to get them to talk. And whilst doing this, the information I had was that the accused has been set free by the court because the families were at the hospital and they could not come to the court. And they called the case 3 times, no complainants. And so the accused was set free.
Wow.
So as a journalist, starting to gather all my facts to know how to approach the story, I'm hit with the reality that now the accused is walking freely and the victim is still at the hospital. Obviously, everyone would think that the accused might have his way. So as a reporter, I still have to do my best to make sure that whilst I push for treatment for the girl, I'll still have to get justice, because that was the only thing the girl wanted. And I was so happy a child would say, I want him to pay for what he has done to me. And as a journalist, you know that if a victim, like a 10-year-old girl, is telling you that I want the man to pay, what else would you do? You would have to make sure that you do all you can to make sure justice is served. And it's after 6 years, I did that for her. I'm so glad, because
you mean you followed that single case for 6 good years?
For 6 good years. For 6 good years.
How much did it affect the work you had to do in the office generally?
So, I'm one type of person, I would always own a story. And so I'm the head of news, and I have my core duty will be to edit scripts and then make sure that the content that is going is the right content. In the same way, in this particular case, every court session, I want to be in court. And so I try to balance my time. And then in situations where I will not be able to make it to the court, sometimes I would fall on one of my reporters to be in the court for me. There have been instances I had a good relationship with the prosecutor. And so sometimes I rush to the court when the case is almost over. And then he would give me the facts as it happened in court. And then I get to talk to the family. One thing I did, and I think that journalists who are interested in reporting issues of violence or stories on children would have to know, is that I was never in a rush to tell what happened at the court. I was never in a rush, because I understood the psychological impact the story had on the family and on the victim. And so anytime the story is out there, the child is reliving the experience she went through. And so when I go to the court, I try to follow the case and try to build up my stories without rushing it to go and report. Because there have been instances within the 6 years, I had 3 judges sitting on the case. 3 judges. 3 judges sitting on the case, because at a point they were transferred. And the last judge that I nearly cried, because they also promoted her and should have to move to the other court, and I'll have to start the case again de novo, as it starts afresh, because it's a criminal case. And that is what happens. If it's a criminal case, they change the judge, you start the case again. And I was almost through with the case, as in following the case, where we're getting to, and all I heard was that the judge, she's been promoted. You can imagine, I was like, am I going to start this all over again? But the good thing is that the judge, she's very committed. She says, okay, every Friday I'll come to the gender court to continue my cases. So every Friday, then our case will be called. So for 6 years, it's not been easy. Financially, I would commit a lot, because sometimes I would have to make sure the families are in court. So as a journalist, I'm not supposed to be the one funding the family to be able to come to court. But that is the only way I could get them to come. This particular case, at a point, I picked the accused in my car and took him back to the police station with the CID person in my car. Because they didn't have a vehicle. The police didn't have a vehicle. And because they knew I was following the case, days they would not bring the accused, I would call and I'll complain. So at a point, they told me they didn't have a vehicle. I said, okay, I'm driving to the police station, because the accused, I think it was cross-examination, so we needed the accused. So I drove to the police station, picked the CID, picked the accused with his handcuffs in my car, and drove them to court.
You mean you took a suspect in your car?
Yes.
To court to be prosecuted.
To court. Yes.
In a
and
case
then,
you had an interest in.
Because the child felt that she's from a vulnerable home, and I'm a journalist. And for children who admire journalists, or children who see journalists as people who can help them get justice, or are the voice for the voiceless, they put their trust in the journalists because they are. So I felt I could. There was no way I would stop the story. I had to follow through. So if I had financially, I will sound maybe on a court case or a court date. What I'll do is that then I'll send transport for them to come. If I realize I'm low on budget, okay, I'll drive there, I'll pick you, then we all go to the court. Yes. Until I think 4 years into the case, then Plan International came on board. And then they supported me financially to be able to convey the family to the court every time there's a court case. And a yearly Plan International would help with domestic items to support the family, even though that was not part of their core mandate when they handled cases. But considering the home where the lady was coming from, the child was coming from, and being partially paralyzed, all the burden is on the family. And so they also supported, and Plan International, headed by the country director, Solomon, they were amazing throughout this particular story. They helped to get justice for the girl.
This is interesting. Now let's go back to where I would have started from. How did you discover the journalist in you while growing up?
Thank you very much for this question. Growing up, I admired journalists. I watched on television and then listened on radio, read the newspapers, and I realized that those behind the stories, I was like, so they are the ones shaping our minds, what we have to think about, what we'll have to, I just loved it. I just loved it. I didn't know it was hard work. I didn't know that because I saw them on TV. I didn't know there was so much work to do before I was reading that story I was seeing in the purpose of watching on telly. So I built the interest from the growing up, and I wanted to do the stories. Yes.
I see. Now you've done some 12 years. 12 years in active journalism, or let's say some almost 12 years. How many more years do you want to go before you move away from the camera or you drop your pen, whichever applies?
Sincerely, I would have loved to do journalism all my life, because the profession puts you in a place where you impact lives. And as a Catholic, that is the essence of we being here. We are supposed to impact lives. We are supposed to make the world a better place. And so I would have wished to do journalism all my life. But the buts are there. And that is what, at a point, you feel like you would have to move out and do something else within the media space. Not totally out of the media space, but the main journalism practice, being on the field, rushing to do your story, meet deadlines, and you want to do something else. So it's still journalism broadly, but within the media space, there are a lot we can do. Not always be on camera and writing the other stories, but so I'll still be a journalist for life. But in practice, I'm looking forward to move into the other media space and do something else. Yeah.
All right. Does journalism pay?
A very interesting question. Journalism pays. For me, journalism pays. And the payment is not just financial.
Okay.
The payment is not financial. Because when we want to talk in financial terms, then you would think that it's nothing you would really compare to as something that you look at the years you have worked. Financially, you will say journalism does not pay. But you look at the individual, you become so resourceful, your social capital, your network base. I tell my family that if you should ask me now, that give me maybe a 50,000 Ghana cedis, I won't get for you. But I think because of my network base, my social capital and all that, I know the people I can call to help raise the amount.
Okay.
So journalism, for me, financially, you won't get it as you expect, because you would think that as you move on year by year, financially you should improve. And then see something that you can say, yes, I have worked 12 years and this is how much I have. Because for we who do stories that are sensitive, that are social stories, that affect the very fabric of society, you are met with the reality of you having to invest in the story to get what you want. And so you rather invest more than even getting what you are expecting to get. But what keeps you going is the impact you have made in the life of maybe the victim, maybe of a community, because of your story. A whole community, they are all smiling because of your story. And that story might have come with a whole lot of investment from you as the journalist.
I see. There's a running debate on this platform. I want to pick your thoughts. Should journalists be licensed?
A very interesting question,
Yeah.
Should journalists be licensed?
Yes.
I think so. I think so. I think so because, as we already know, the pen is mightier.
That's right.
The pen is mightier. I have never underestimated the power of the pen. That is why, for me, I don't call any person I see within the media space as a journalist.
Okay.
Some are presenters. Now we have media practitioners who, because...
Are these not semantics? I mean, synonyms of a word? Or each of them determines what you do?
They are not journalists, because some of them, how they go about the profession. I won't call you a journalist. I won't call you a journalist because you are not working or professing the tenets of the profession, because, ethically, if you would want to look at the work of some journalists, or let me say some persons within the media space, you won't call them journalists. Journalism, aside it being a calling, it comes with a mandate that I think when you are licensed, you'll be more responsible. Because you can't just pick your pen and then write something and the whole community is in chaos. A whole country can be in chaos because of what you wrote. And so licensing would help streamline how we help shape, because we set the agenda. Right. And if ethically we are not mindful of what we write, and we'll say that so far as you can write, you are a journalist, so far as you can rattle or you can speak the local language, or you are, let me say, confident when it comes to holding the microphone, everything, you are a journalist. Or no, when we do that, it won't help, because at the end of the day, we will find a chaotic country. Seriously, like the way sometimes you see bloggers, they write, and sometimes you look at the story, or did the person go to any journalism school, or did they even know the code of ethics? And all these people, they refer to them as journalists. It's heartbreaking. it's very heartbreaking because not all of them are journalists. And for those who are journalists, they know the ethics. And if you are licensed, it also helps you because you know your license can be taken away from you anytime. So when you are writing or you are reporting, you are mindful of what you are doing.
One of the things I have realized is that social media has launched the traditional media into a unique era of television. Now I'd say we have an integrated media rather than the radio, newspaper, and television, because the radio station is on social media. When they are live in the studio, it is streaming on social media. Television is doing the same, newspapers are doing the same. Now, for you and from where you sit, is that coming at an extra cost or is an extra advantage?
It is an extra advantage at an extra cost. An extra advantage.
That's right.
At an extra cost, because you would have to get your Facebook page running, your YouTube page running, and all the other platforms running. So whilst it's helping you reach a wider audience, it's coming at a cost.
Yeah.
It's coming at a cost because now most of the media houses are employing social media managers. And that is one of the costs.
Yeah.
Aside that, the content that you are designing for social media, for we who are within the traditional media space, we know that it's not the exact, even though we will stream live and everything on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, whatever platform we are on, we still make time to do content for social media.
Okay.
Aside the live streaming, we still have content for social media. And because social media presents an opportunity for you that you can go live or post anything, anytime, any day, which the traditional media, so for an example, traditional media, we have 6 a.m. news, 12 p.m. news, 6 p.m. news, 10 p.m. news. But for the social media platform of a TV station like Atinka TV, when there's a breaking news, sometimes it's stressed on our social media handles before it's even on TV. Because for traditional media, you are not getting the visual editor, quickly work on the videos. You are getting the presenter, makeup, rush to the studio. You are getting the FCR guys, the MCR guys. You're in a rush. Sometimes you even fall on the staircase to break the story. To break the story on TV or on radio. You're in a rush. But then in a matter of seconds, it is already on our social media handles and the information is out there before we bring it to so you see, it's giving us an advantage, but at an extra cost. Those who are not within the traditional media space, you understand, may not necessarily see it more of a cost because it's a one-way thing.
That's right.
It's a one-way thing for them. But for us within the traditional media space, we are actually spending on social media. And it's also helping us. Because even some of the advertisers would ask you number of followers on Facebook, on your YouTube. They are concerned because they feel that aside those who might not necessarily watch TV, but on Facebook, are you still able to reach them? Yes, so the advantage is there and the cost is also there similarly.
Missing children. Let's talk about missing children. It looks like that appears to be your...
Oh, that's my heartbeat, eh?
Exactly. Now, I have followed this documentary series for some time, and I see you taking some children you have found who were lost but found to their, and taking them back to their families in a bit to reintegrate or reunite with their families. Now, what is the starting point of this whole missing children thing? Where did it start from?
Missing children.
Yeah.
As the name connotes, children who are missing.
That's right.
So this particular documentary idea, I was working, investigating into how children grow, live, enjoy their human rights in slums.
Okay.
Or in a slum community. So I identified about 5 slum communities or slums in Asamoah in the Greater Accra region of Ghana.
Okay.
That I wanted to spend days or time, maybe a night, like let me say a day in a home, and then in a community, then see how those children. I'm not going to tell the parents. I would inform them, seek consent and all that. But I was going to do that observation, see how their lives, the daily lives are, and even try to understand them. So as I was putting together my information and I started my investigation, then I had information that you are thinking about children in these communities. Yes, we have a lot of children. When you go there, you see them, they are not wearing attire. They will see you, they are happy. Even if they see you in camera, they will say, take a photo of me. And this thing, they are not even wearing, they say, take a photo of me. Yeah. Then I know that as a professional journalist, you can't take a photo of a child who
is naked.
Any attire, is naked. Or what, even though the child is happy and wants you, no, you can't do it. So in my investigations to do this particular story, which I was going to build in a documentary, then I chanced on the information that a lot of children are getting missing or they are going missing, and in some cases they are found. In some cases they are never traced by the families. So I was like, okay, so what happens? If you don't find them, what happens? The families cry. Those who visit their pastors will go. Those who go to the shrines will go. The deities, they will just be going to the extent of knowing where their child is. Yeah. So then there's another side of the missing children whole story. There were some of these children too, they found, but the children do not have the information, basic information about their families that can help those who even found them to take them back.
And what will be the reason? Did they get missing at a very young age or something?
At a very young age, I met a child, 3 years. 3 years, you could say, what's your mother's name? Ma. As literally to say that mother.
You mean a missing child that was 3 years old?
3 years old. 3 years old. So the stories are like this. Okay. Some of these children, the Asamoah is one of the fastest growing community in Greater Accra region. And they have a very big market. Yeah. And so they have a lot of people coming from even other regions like Central region, other regions on market days to come to Asamoah. And some come with their children to shop. Some come with their children to trade and all that. And because it's a big place, some of these children get missing when they come with their parents to the market. Aside those who come to the market, some of the children are adventurous. Okay. And would want to go out at the least sound of a noise or music. Yeah. They go out and they are not able to come back home. And research shows that children get missing a lot because they are attracted by things they see. And they will not recognize they've gone missing until 1, they start feeling hungry. Or 2, they get to a place they need assistance, they realize that they don't know anyone. So they will wander away for a long time before they will realize they are missing. And that is how it becomes difficult for them to be taken back home when they don't have, 1, the telephone number of their family members, like the mother or the father. They don't know the full name of their parents. They don't know any landmark that can take them close to where they actually came from. So some of these reasons the children get missing and they are missing for good. So when a child gets missing and a good Samaritan finds this child, they'll take the child to the police station.
Okay.
So the police will record and keep the child at the police station for some time, hoping someone will show up. For some time, if no one comes, what happens is that they hand the child over to social welfare.
Oh.
And then social welfare will now look for a home, a children's home to take the child to.
Okay.
Keeping records, hoping that the families would come. Whilst the social welfare prepare the child to take the child to the children's home, they try to interview the child to get the basic information that can help them start contact tracing.
Okay.
So if the child is not able to provide, they take the child to the orphanage home or take the child to the orphanage or children's home, hoping someone would show up. Now, until I started the missing children documentaries, I got to realize that most parents or most Ghanaians are not aware that when children get missing, they can end up in children's homes or orphanages.
Oh.
They have the idea that orphanages are for orphans or abandoned children.
Yeah.
So when their children go missing, they don't even think, oh, let me go to the nearest orphanage, or let me go to social welfare so they can help me. So all they know is to go to the police station.
Yeah.
And I can say, based on my research and reuniting missing children for almost a year, I can say that some of our police officers are not helpful. Because I have cases where the very police station the child was brought to, when someone found the child, that same police station, the families or the parents of that particular child reported the case to there. What happened? That the police could not connect the dots. And it took 6 years.
Hold on. You mean, let's assume police station A is where the missing child was taken to.
Yes.
The parents of the missing child also go to police station A to report
hours later,
that same child,
after,
or let's say even a week later, to say that that child who was brought there is missing. They are looking for him. And still the police cannot make a connection between the two, despite the descriptions and other things.
Yes. What they did was to give a police extract to the family to go and do announcement to look for the child. And they would, if they get the child, they would inform them. And it was 6 years until through my documentary, I found the child. And then when they brought the form, I asked the social welfare, which police station brought the child? They mentioned the police station. I said, but this police extract is from the same police station. So what happened? That is why I can confidently stand anywhere and say that some of our police officers are not helpful. There have been some police officers that have been very supportive since I started the Missing Children Initiative. And so immediately the child is brought there, they even take photo and send to me and ask me if I have any parents who, any similarity to any of the children that have been reported missing at my office or to my team. So what I realized with the police is that they handle the cases individually. And so if it was Regina who was on duty, that the child was brought, I recall that this child was brought and hand the child over to social welfare, and I'm off duty. And the parent of the child comes to the police station.
And when Stephen is on duty.
Stephen is on duty.
And Stephen doesn't know Regina received
a child
who is the subject of the parent search.
Yes. And we'll say that, okay, I've written the police extra for, so go and do the announcement. We'll also help search. And that ends it. Until the family comes to the police station and meets me, Regina, on duty. And then I can easily link that, oh, the child was supposed to be a week ago, or that the child will still be in that orphanage with his or her destiny locked up in that orphanage.
This is interesting.
So when I did this documentary, a lot of revelations. And I felt it was not just even about reuniting these children, bringing joy and hope to families that their children have been missing, but it became a point of a learning curve for many.
Tell me about the child that had been missing for the longest time. How young was the child when he or she got missing? And how old was he when the person was found?
All right, thank you. The longest so far I have done is a child who got missing for 14 years. As at the time I found him, he was 17 years. And so he got missing at the age of 3 years. He's called Kofi. That was the name he could mention when they found him. He said he was Kofi. So Kofi got missing and was brought to this orphanage at Ashaman, Save Them Young Orphanage. Those there are amazing, and Save Them Young, they are very amazing. And they took care of this boy for 14 years. So when I had the opportunity to enter the orphanage with the help of the municipal head of Social Welfare and Community Development Office, Mr. Archibald Mensah, he's an incredible person. Let me say he's been very supportive, and he's helped me a lot on this Missing Children initiative. So when I spoke with this child, he told me all he remembers was he was going to buy something and he got missing. That was all he could say. That was all he could say. And he's been missing for 14 years. So it became a challenge. How can I help this boy that he can only say that I was going to buy something I got missing? Can you identify your mother when you see her? He's not sure. Can you identify your father? He's not sure. So he was part of about over 30 children I showed in my first documentary on the missing children. So I realized that children who were missing for like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 1 year, families were showing up quickly and were helping to reunite them. Then I realized that I had about 7 children who have been missing for 7 years and above. But I was not having any families come on board. So I was curious. Then I was like, okay, I know when we are growing, sometimes we change. And so the families might not necessarily identify the child. Secondly, maybe their parents might not be alive, because for 10 years, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take the documentary to another level by now trying to go deeper to get the photos of these children when they were found missing.
Oh, okay.
So I had their photos, like this Kofi, for instance, I had his photo when he was now 7 years, like 3 years after. So they were able to get a photo like that for me.
Okay.
And what I did was to now show both pictures. Now he's 14 years, and this was him when he was very young. So showing both photos, I was hopeful that even if the parents are no more, the siblings or family members can easily help with identification. And God was good. Immediately I did that for this particular boy. I had a call, and the lady said that the boy you are showing is my brother. He's been missing for 14 years.
Wow.
And she tells me the trauma the boy's parents have gone through, the family, what they have gone through, to the point that out of the painful experience upon the boy going missing, the mother had to now take to drinking.
Oh.
And a year or two after, she passed on.
Oh.
Because the boy was close to the mother, and that was her last born.
Oh.
That was her last born. And the boy was mommy's son. And so the sister told me that my mom is no more. How I wish she was alive to know that her son is still alive, because even on her sick bed, she was like, someone has used my son for something. I can't see my son. And out of it, she just wants to leave the world. Like, she really went through a lot.
Yeah.
And interestingly, this was a boy who told me that I want to see my mother.
Oh.
So even as at the day we're doing the reunification for this boy, I couldn't tell him his mother was no more. I couldn't.
Oh.
I told the sister that the boy needs time, and that when they go home, she finds a way to communicate. She and the boy's father, they find a way to communicate to the boy that the mother is no more. And one thing that helped me too, the sister was able to identify with a lot of things. Aside the picture, she was able to tell us that the brother had a problem with his fingers. The brother had a problem with his fingers. And so that identification also proved positive. And so we were convinced. And the sister was able to sit with the brother and was telling the boy this, and the boy was responding to trying to let the boy remember his childhood days with the family. Further investigations into this family even shows that where they used to stay and the boy got missing is actually a walking distance to the orphanage where the police or the social welfare took the child to. So if only the child could have said that, okay, I stay here and there's a school there, that would have been very easy. So that is why I say that missing children in niche documentaries, it's a learning curve for everyone. So you have to tell your child, so far as your child can speak, ask the child, what's your name? The child should be able to mention your full name. Let's stop letting our children just call us mommy, daddy, that's all. Our children should know our full names, should know our telephone numbers, should know the school they are attending, at least their pastor's name or the church name. Some basic information the children should know. Yeah. And it would help us. And that is what I've been preaching out of my documentary, so that our children would grow in families. Families are irreplaceable. Yeah. Children who have grown in orphanages, their stories sometimes are very heartbreaking.
How have you been able to ensure that in a bid to reunite and reintegrate these missing children with their families, you don't get scammed or deceived into giving a child away just because somebody is in desperate need of the custody of that or this child?
Yes, I receive calls. I receive calls, and some, I know that some are genuine. They have been married for years. They are not able to give birth. They have tried all that they would want to try. So they need a child. Yeah. Some of them genuinely, they don't know the process, how to go about it. So through my program, when they call me, I try to educate them. Okay. How you can go through the process for adoption and then foster parenting. Okay. Both they are different, adoption and foster parenting. So I explain to them, and some would go. Now, I have people, I would say some of them, they are scammers. And even some, I suspect they are even kidnappers. Who calls my number? Because one thing I have done is to have a number on the documentaries. Okay. Because the families that come to me with issues, even if I'm showing that I'm looking for this child, I don't use the families, their contacts. Okay. I use our official contact because they call and demand money. Some call me and tell me they know where the child is. I should send them this amount of money. They'll show me where the child is. Wow. One I think it's a group of kidnappers. They called and I was following the conversation to see what, to the point that they were leading me to a house in Kumasi where they are keeping children. And they are telling me that the child I'm showing is one of them. And so I should bring this amount because they thought I was the mother of the child because that's my number. And that they'll call, they're demanding this amount of money, 40,000, 30,000. And sometimes I tell them, I'm a poor woman, I don't have any money. So where are you? Show me, I'll meet you and everything. They'll tell me if I'm ready, even if I have, you can negotiate even to 2,000 to 5,000. I should leave the money. They'll show me where to leave the money and they'll show me where I can pick the child.
How long do you intend to do this? You've done 1 year already. How long do you intend to do this?
May 22, 2022 will be 1 year.
Okay.
Since I started. I premiered the first one, that was last year, May 2022. No, May 2022, 2021. Yeah, May 2021 was when I did the first. So I have found more meaning in journalism.
So this is 1 year. Within the 1 year period, how many kids have you reunited with their parents? How many in all? Up to date?
I can count 165.
165 children that were missing, found, and reunited with their parents and families.
Yes.
I think then a national award, special one, should be created for you. Special recognition.
Amen.
This is incredible.
Amen. So you see, what more can I ask out of this profession I came into, or I admired from childhood and I pursue?
Yeah.
Like I pursued it, and today that's what I'm saying, that I can do journalism all my life. You know, because the media space is broad. The media space is broad, and I can still practice my journalism, not necessarily being tied into a media house or doing the core newsroom work.
That's right.
Doing the core newsroom work, because the core newsroom work or news report will mean that 2 minutes, 3 minutes story or 1 minute story quickly you are doing to put out there.
Right. Yeah.
And I gradually have moved into becoming a documentary filmmaker.
Okay.
Because I have come to realize that the stories I do within 2 minutes, I go through a lot. So sometimes within 2 minutes, I feel I could tell the story more in a documentary.
Yeah.
Have all stakeholders on board, and then be able to make more impact. So almost all my stories starts as news reports. Then I build them into documentaries. That is how I do it. And so for the missing children, I have come to realize that in Ghana here, I think I can confidently say I am the only journalist. Only journalist in Ghana. I can confidently say that I have moved. I found a problem in this area, and I have moved in and I have made an impact.
Okay.
And considering the impact I have made within a year, and the number of, let me say, police extracts of missing children, currently, I can count like 150 requests on my table.
Really?
Of children who are missing. Even today, this morning, I had another report. I can count about 150 on my decks. That I'm still trying to move now. I have done Greater Accra region. I still have homes in Greater Accra region. I'm trying to get in contact with them. There's one thing we have to bear in mind. I'm not having it easy doing this, because some of the homes, they have this mentality that the more the children, the more the donations they get. And for me, my documentaries are now helping families find their children, and they'll come for these children. So if you have 20 children in your orphanage and about 20 of them are missing, and I come there to do that documentary and I show these children and their parents come for them, you have just about 10 of them left.
Yeah.
Some of the owners or operators of the orphanages do not see it as a good news for them because government is not paying you for taking care of the children. But some of them are using the children as a means to get support. And so they feel that if we allow you to take the children away, how do we get our support to run our place? And so sometimes I would have to do a lot of convincing. That is why gradually I would wish to get sponsorship. I would wish to get enough sponsorship to be able to keep me running this project because it's capital intensive. Yeah. I'm spending my little journalism financial resource to do this impact. And I can say that I have not taken any money from any parents because I'm reuniting your child with you. I'm not charging parents. I'm not asking any parent to pay any money. I'm not taking any money from any parent. I'm doing this because I'm a journalist. I have done an investigation and the impact is massive. I'm bringing joy to your home. Yeah. All the years of accusations, the joy I see, the way they are happy, that is what gives me the passion to continue to do this. But I believe that if corporate Ghana and other well-meaning Ghanaians who are watching me, who are listening to me, would support this initiative, I can do more for Mother Ghana. I can do more because aside using my brains very well to do these stories, because reporting on children comes with a lot of ethical considerations.
Yes.
So I'm really making sure that I'm using my skills, journalistic skills, very wisely and professionally in this. And if I have to use my little financial resources to produce all these documentaries, you know, it can weigh you down at a point. Yes, it can weigh down. So sponsorship, corporate Ghana, anyone who would support it anyway, I foresee doing this for a long time. Yeah.
If we are to go back 15 years, your age now minus 15 years, are you still going to choose journalism?
I will. I will choose journalism. I have made an impact that I'm so proud of. I'm so proud of the impact I have made through my stories. It's not just even about my stories that I have done, the people I have come across, those who I have mentored, those I have helped them to do stories that have been very impactful. Journalism has placed me in a position that I found meaning as a person, as an individual. And so I'll still go back for journalism any day, anytime.
Bedroom, Osha powder, a jarry me, a yabusia fono, or many jay. Yababe PMO, our community one, yes, they had a 5,000. Emmanuel, Ubefieno, Tinafie, Neni, Menira Biom.
We are going to dance today. We are going to dance. This is our church. Today, in the room, we are going to dance because Mark, he lacked dance. God have done well. You too, we thank you.
Me who be da. My yadi papa yami shrabu.
See at the idea emofana baby Joe Penny or no 4 years ni or January 2017. Priscilla so Uriah no 2019.
Madam.
Ow, Sister Regina. Sister Regina. Mahumi bow 6 years, 7 years. And ye is a end for Kura.
Let me pull the brakes here. This has been exciting. Regina Asamoah, head of news and current affairs at Tinka Media Village. That's a huge title on its own. And to me, the takeaway point is this. The missing children documentary she did appears to be developing many more branches she did not anticipate. Hers was to identify children that were missing and try to connect them back to their families. But now she is getting calls from people whose children are missing, who are telling her, they say you have the magic to identify and locate them to help us. It's a tough call, but she says she's all for it. We'll be back next time with another edition. This is PENSDOWN. Journalism journeys, that's what we talk here. Thanks for joining us. Regina, I'm grateful for your company.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. We'll be back next time with another edition. Stay tuned and be sure to activate your notification so that whenever we go live, you can also join the conversation. Bye for now.